proceeding forward with the afternoon session of day one of this particular FDP, I invite Dr. Subhajit Siddhanta to this particular session, technical session. Introducing his profile, Dr. Subhajit Siddhanta is an assistant professor with the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at Indian Institute of Technology, Bhilai. He is working in the area of edge computing, data analytics, distributed systems, and cloud computing. Before joining IIT Bhilai, Dr. Subhajit was an assistant professor with the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Jodhpur. Dr. Subhajit had been working as postdoctoral researcher in the domain specialization of distributed systems at INESCID affiliated with University of Lisbon, Portugal. He was working on a project funded by European Research Consortium to develop a theoretical model of consistency and isolation levels of distributed systems. Shubhajit sir completed his doctoral degree in computer science from Louisiana State University in August 2016. His doctoral dissertation was titled The Performance Trade-off and SLA Awareness in Cloud Computing and Distributed Data Stores. Dr. Shubhajit has many scholarly publications in top reputed conferences and journals like SRDS, CC Grid, IEEE Cloud, IEEE SEC, and so on. Dr. Shubhajit has also 4 years of experience as software developer at IBM and PwC India in Java programming platforms, databases, and other internet technologies. So with this elevated profile, I invite Dr. Shubhajit to please take over the stage and start with his keynote.
Thank you, Professor, for this opportunity and for this kind introduction. So, first of all, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are very
Yes,
much
sir.
audible, but the voice is slightly echoing. So you can.
Okay, let me just check.
I request the participants to put off their video, preferably to Dr. Hari Om Upadhyay ji.
Hello, is it better now?
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay,
Clear
so
enough.
I will start the presentation. Let me share the screen. So, is my screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Great, great. All right. So it's my pleasure to talk to you about consistency in NoSQL systems. So I understand this is a very interesting workshop in NoSQL systems, especially, and I think already you have an introduction to NoSQL before this, and from tomorrow onwards you will probably dig deep into the concepts of specific different kind of distributed databases like MongoDB, Cassandra, Neo4j, graph databases. So today is more about like the theoretical aspects of consistency in NoSQL databases and how it basically shapes the performance in such a system. So with that in mind, let me talk to a little bit of background about why NoSQL and cloud, why it actually came into being. It will actually help you in understanding that my point in why consistency is so important is in this kind of systems. So, of course, NoSQL is, of course, a database paradigm which came into being with the advent of the cloud and web services very late, probably like 10 or 20 years back, when traditional relational databases were no longer enough to host very large data as well as data which is concurrently replicated and accessed from multiple clients across the web, across the globe. So for that, what happened is that first of all, something called the cloud came into the picture. Traditional workstations, grids, and supercomputers were no longer sufficient. Rather, we needed something called a cloud, which is basically nothing but a cluster of virtual machines where the physical resources are hidden. The organization of physical resources are hidden, and a virtualized view of the system is presented to the world, such that anybody from anywhere in the globe can use his or her personal computer to access whatever computing requirements or computing resources he or she may need, computing or storage need. And this cloud computing came into being for several reasons. And one is that the capital expenditure in maintaining physical resources were practically zero. You just had to pay the public or hybrid cloud providers some operational cost, uh, pay as you following the pay as you go model. And other reasons were there, like the ease of usage of such cloud and fast bootstrapping policies and elasticity, in the sense that as and when required you could just request more resources in your cluster to just scale the cluster out or up without any hassle, hasslesome or problematic ways in manually configuring the hardware or adding new resources in the network and so on and so forth. So these are the reasons why the cloud came into picture. And uh, and as we see that slowly all the companies and even the government are adopting the cloud, and parallelly, along with the cloud came the large-scale distributed systems, which we call NoSQL, which is a fancy name of new generation databases, which is, I think, the topic of this workshop. So, to support the cloud and applications running on the cloud, traditional relational models of the database systems had to be foregone with, because they required strict adherence to consistent, like coherence and integrity constraints and foreign keys and those kind of things, which required more and more strict synchronization and sequential access basically. So instead of that, the normalization theory altogether in relational databases was completely or partially sacrificed with, to come up with highly replicated, heavily replicated and partitioned databases, where the data is both replicated, that is multiple copies of the data are kept in multiple servers, as well as the data, which is very large in size, is segregated or cut into pieces, and partitions, different partitions of the same data are distributed across multiple servers. And like applications, web services, and large-scale production systems like Netflix, Facebook, they actually use this kind of systems today more and more. And for example, as you can see in this slide, Netflix probably used to use 1 million host 1 million writes per second using clusters of 50 to 300 nodes, which have probably scaled out to the level of 1,000 nodes, providing probably 10 million writes per second or whatnot. We don't know yet. So this data is back from 2014, I think, and now the world has become more and more crazy actually. So now, but thing is that even with this kind of large scale NoSQL systems, still some performance optimization and tuning needs to be done. Why? This is where the consistency aspect comes into play. So in order to preserve the consistency despite the absolute denormalization and very less amount of synchronization among the replicas, for preserving consistency in those kind of denormalized situations, some kind of optimization, some kind of middleware, some kind of tuning policy has to be there. Consistency is not automatically satisfied by these kind of systems. I mean, we are not talking about very weak or non-existent consistency levels like your eventual consistency, but rather stronger or even moderately strong consistency levels needs to be enforced by developers through code or by some system level configuration parameters that are a little bit difficult to understand. And there are a host of different systems, NoSQL systems. Many of you will get introduced to today, like MongoDB, Cassandra, Dynamo, and whole lot of different other systems that you can see in this slide. So the use cases in current applications or current companies who basically use this kind of distributed systems, okay, is that they have certain kind of service level agreement that they need to cater to this many simultaneous concurrent users, and they have this much size of data to host on certain size of a cluster. Now, in order to provide the consistency of data in this kind of situation, what kind of modulation, tuning, or application code needs to be developed? So these are the different things that a person who is working with NoSQL systems need to think about. So this is the bigger picture. Now, talking about consistency and introducing it formally. So what is consistency? Now consistency is something which is not new to or unique to NoSQL systems. It was there right from the beginning of conception of databases. Even it was there, it is also prevalent, this terminology is prevalent in operating systems and computer architecture, where you talk about consistency and coherence of data. But with respect to relational databases, it basically talked about, consistency basically talked about the C in the ACID properties. So if you remember, in relational databases, we had transactions, and the transactional systems had to adhere to this property called ACID, which means atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. And consistency here meant different constraints that had to be maintained. Constraints meaning like foreign key, primary key, unique, check, those kind of different constraints. So consistency with respect to relational databases meant that any kind of constraint like those foreign keys or primary keys must always be satisfied. But now we are talking about NoSQL systems or distributed storage systems. So they are not relational databases. So the ACID property are not satisfied by these systems. So consistency doesn't mean have anything to do with primary key or foreign key, because those kind of constraints are not there, because we are talking about a denormalized database. There is no normalization there. There is no primary key. There is no candidate key. Nothing there. So now, when we talk about consistency, what does it mean? Consistency broadly here means certain order in which the operations performed on this database must be applied. The consistency means a kind of partial ordering that needs to be satisfied with respect to applications performing reads or writes on the given NoSQL system. So it's basically some kind of constraint on the partial order of operations. That's, like, broadly speaking, what consistency means. But consistency is not a singular thing or a unidimensional thing here. Consistency with respect to NoSQL databases is a very complex thing. There are different definitions and models and levels of consistency that are there in NoSQL world. So any NoSQL system can choose to apply any one or multiple of the different consistency models or consistency levels that are existing in the current literature. So linearizability is the strongest form of consistency model, which basically says that every read operation must instantaneously return the latest value that was written to that particular item. So imagine that you have a system of servers, a NoSQL system consisting of a system of servers, and basically what you are doing is that concurrently you are applying or executing different operations on this system. Now, depending on the position of the client application and the relative location of the servers, the particular operation that you perform may be executed on a particular server or the other. So imagine that you have you have performed a write operation or an update operation on a server S1, and sometimes later you are executing a read operation S2 on a read operation on some server S2, where S1 and S2 are spaced apart or geographically spaced apart. Now, in that case, linearizability basically says that the read operation performed on S2 must return the latest result of that particular object or item. That is, it must return the result of the write on the server S1. However, the distance may be between the servers, instantaneously S2 must see the result of S1. Now this becomes a little bit complicated to satisfy, a little bit costly to satisfy in many relational databases, because of the obvious reasons that, for example, that there may be multiple servers and the servers may have considerable latency between them. The read operation from a server may take quite a bit of time to reach another server, and so instantaneously returning the value of a particular write operation may not be feasible if there are some reads and writes happening in between these two read and write operations, right? So instead, what happens is that the distributed NoSQL systems do not provide the strongest linearizability consistency model. Rather, they provide something in between, some consistency model which is weaker than linearizability but stronger than the weakest form of consistency model, which is eventual consistency. So basically, we come to the picture in the bottom left corner, which tells you about a triangle which precisely defines how different NoSQL systems uh, operate in this on this spectrum of consistency models. That is, this is called a CAP theorem or CAP principle, which was proposed by Eric Brewer and then subsequently proved by Nancy Gilbert and Lynch, sometimes in like 6-7 years down the line. And I recommend everybody to actually go through that paper, which basically says that there is this three parameters: consistency, availability, and P stands for partition tolerance. C stands for consistency, A for high availability, and P for partition tolerance. And the CAP theorem basically states that any distributed storage system which is prone to faults or partitions must have to compromise with any one of these parameters. That is, a NoSQL system must choose to compromise any one of these parameters and choose to satisfy any two of the rest of the parameters. So consistency, basically the C for consistency basically means whatever we discussed so far, that the level of consistency that says that how soon the result of a write must be seen by a subsequent read. And availability, A for availability, means that the services or the requests from a client must be applicable to a database always. That is, a particular service which accesses a particular NoSQL database never fail. That is, the service must always be available to the client. That is, the NoSQL system must always be available to clients. And P for partition tolerance means that despite frequent or non-frequent, whatever the case may be, despite some partitions or network partitions happening in the cluster where the distributed system gets broken up into disconnected graph, despite those kind of partitions happening in the cluster, the system must still continue to provide high availability. Now, as we discussed that the consistency, availability and partition tolerance cannot be satisfied all at once, so a system must choose to provide any two of these three parameters. So now I know the picture is a little bit small in size, but I hope still you can see that there are three sides of this triangle, and they have been labeled as CA, AP and CP. And these three sides basically define that what kind of compromise a given system makes. So as you can see in the AP side of the triangle, which basically says that it compromises on consistency, but it provides high availability and partition tolerance. In that side, you can see Cassandra, Voldemort, Riak, Dynamo, which are the majority of the popular open source distributed storage systems that are there in the market, right? So these systems like Cassandra, what they say is that they are okay with providing weaker consistency. They don't need, they don't believe in providing linearizability or any stronger form of consistency which requires a lot of synchronization among the replicas or servers. So the point here is that this kind of systems give more importance to the trade-off in terms of availability and partition tolerance. That is, these systems are boast themselves on their ability to perform despite failures of clusters, servers in the cluster, and because of their ability to maintain availability always, right? And on the other two sides of the triangle, for example, in the CA side, which says that it provides consistency, strong consistency, availability, but it compromises on partition tolerance. Those kind of databases like MySQL, Cluster, PostgreSQL, those are the traditional relational databases which always provide the strongest form of consistency with constant synchronization and sequential access of the data points, and they are not fault tolerant. If one of the servers crashes, then the whole system's integrity is violated. So those are the old generation of databases. And on the other side, there is CP. There is the CP side, which says that availability is something that can be compromised in favor of strong consistency and partition tolerance. Hadoop, HBase, and MongoDB are one of the important examples, and also Bigtable, which is a Google storage system. So you will learn about MongoDB, I guess, in the subsequent lectures. MongoDB is also a very popular database, widely used, and it's a document database which basically organizes the data in form of document hierarchy, and it provides stronger consistency usually, but there is a caveat there. It can be actually configured to provide weaker consistency, but usually the stronger consistency models are the default ones there. So the bottom line or the takeaway from this slide is that the NoSQL systems choose to compromise on any one of these three parameters and in the CAP theorem, and they also work with any one of the different consistency models available in the spectrum of consistency models, not just linearizability, which is the strongest form of consistency, and eventual consistency, which is the weakest form. So some examples of these consistency models. So some weak consistency models that you can find is, one is your read or write consistency that you can see in the right hand side, which is a kind of a session consistency model. So in Doug Terry, a very famous researcher in this field, who now works with Samsung, who was in Microsoft, his famous paper called PBS is something that everybody should read. So he came up with this paper called Bayou, and in Bayou, he actually defined a lot of session consistency models, where basically the concept is that instead of providing a cross server consistency, the system can choose to provide user level, session level consistency, where in one particular session the consistency of data must always be maintained. That is, every read operation must return the result of the write operation immediately preceding it. So it talks about consistency, strong consistency, but only on its particular session, not across sessions. And so it's a very useful consistency. There are a lot of session consistency models. Read your write is one such consistency model. There is also monotonic write, monotonic read, write follows read. All of these have their own implications, which are kind of self-explanatory from their definition, from their naming. For example, read your write says that every read must return the result of the preceding write. Similarly, monotonic read means that the monotonic order of the reads must always be maintained. That is, if two subsequent writes must reflect the partial order of the writes happening before them. And so similarly, monotonic write preserves the monotonicity of write operations, and write follows read basically says that if there is a write operation following a read, then no subsequent read operations can return an older value of write. So, I mean, these consistency models I will not go into the details of. You can actually look at the Bayou paper or my latest paper in SRDS if you want to. And another strong, relatively strong but still weaker consistency model, weaker than linearizability, is causal consistency. This consistency model is very much popular, and it is actually used in most production scale, large scale storage systems like Facebook, Netflix, and so on. For example, an example here you can see is that if Alice posts a photo in Facebook, and there's a person called Bob, who is Alice's friend, and Bob posts a comment against that photo. Now, during propagation of these updates to the server, if there is a subsequent user who wants to view this blog, then what happens is that he or she may see the comment of Bob before the corresponding photo of Alice is visible. But this is a violation of causal consistency, which says that the comment can only come before the original post, that is the photograph, is visible. So the causality or the cause and effect ordering of events must always be preserved with causal consistency. So there are other consistency models also, without going into the details. So now this is a little bit different concept that I wanted to introduce to you. So basically, why we are talking about these consistency models and the CAP theorem with respect to NoSQL systems? Because the NoSQL storage systems are typically used as backend to some large-scale data analytics platforms or applications, which perform some kind of machine learning, some kind of business informatics on the data stored by this kind of relational, non-relational databases. Now, so these client applications, if you can follow this slide from top to down, the client applications perform some big data analytics task, okay? And these big data analytics applications consist of concurrent accesses to the underlying NoSQL database, okay, and these applications have to follow certain kind of service level agreement or SLA, and there can be some kind of deadlines also mentioned in the SLA, which basically says that any kind of operation being performed must be returned within that SLA deadline. Now, typically this NoSQL systems store heterogeneous data, unstructured huge data coming from heterogeneous sources on these distributed storage systems which are replicated across geographically separated regions. Now, given the fact that there is a huge unstructured data coming from different sources in different format being stored here, to enable this kind of systems to follow the SLA deadline or perform the application operations within the particular SLA deadlines would require a lot of application development effort in terms of the application developer. Because the NoSQL storage systems are denormalized, there is no normalization theory there. The database is a kind of a bland, out of the box, flexible, bare metal kind of database, where not much sophistication is available for the end user. So, for the simple fact that the system is designed to be fault tolerant and the system has to be lightweight. So, now, with so less sophistication available in these databases, the onus is on the application developer side to ensure that the SLA deadlines are met, right? Now, in order to do that, what happens is that there has to be some kind of performance optimization theory and applications being to be done on top of this kind of databases, right? So, what happens in underlying this kind of underlying systems can be given here. So these systems work under certain kind of service level agreements, and they have their own correctness properties, that is application level correctness guarantees. Like, for example, if there's a banking application running, it basically says the bank account balance cannot be less than or equal to 0 or something like that. So now concurrent clients processes run on this large scale storage systems, right, which are typically replicated and running on cloud infrastructure. Now, in order to provide the applications the ability to meet this kind of SLA deadlines, there has to be some kind of performance tuning to be done. As you can see in this red box, some kind of performance tuning has to be done to provide the optimal trade-off in consistency, which is required to maintain the correctness, as well as to provide the required throughput and latency to maintain the service level agreement. So you can see that this is a kind of complex optimization problem which needs to, where the system needs to be tuned with multiple parameters in mind. One is consistency, of course. Another is different kind of performance parameters like throughput, the latency, the correctness properties, and so on and so forth. Now, tuning the system with this so many different parameters simultaneously requires some kind of automated tuning framework. And this automated tuning framework will provide you with the means to preserve the correctness property, meet the SLA, provide an improved performance, and reduce the cost of maintaining synchronization among the replicas. So, people who work with consistency and performance optimization in NoSQL systems typically develop different analysis and modeling techniques and open source middlewares and tools to provide this kind of tuning. And why this tuning is so much automated tuning, why it is so much challenging, you can see here that there are so many different performance parameters and other parameters like consistency level, the type of application which is supported, the size of cluster, the kind of replication factor there, and the number of partitions the data is chunked into, the kind of network conditions, and so on and so forth. Right. Now, so to develop this kind of automated tuning frameworks where the consistency model can be automatically tuned and the performance can be satisfied, the consistency semantics of the storage system also needs to be understood very much well. So by consistency semantics, what do I mean? Now, as I told you that consistency here doesn't always only mean linearity, that whatever write had happened before this particular read, that result must be visible to you. It's not just that. There are different consistency model definitions there. For example, read your write basically says that a read operation in a particular session must see the preceding write in that same session. Similarly, causal consistency says that the causality must be satisfied. Now, how do you define those consistency models in axiomatically in terms of certain semantics of the storage system, right? So, how you define semantically, how you define that consistency model, and you understand how well you understand those semantics is important to the understanding of consistency models. Not only that, the semantics actually varies a lot in NoSQL systems. You cannot define a consistency model, have one single, I mean, before our work in SRDS actually, there were no unified semantic system which could define the consistency in a shared database as well as in a geo-replicated database. For example, in a geo-replicated database, if you wanted to define causal consistency, you had to bring in the replication factor there. Whereas in shared databases, there is not any requirement for replication factor because the data items are not replicated typically. So semantically speaking, the terminology and semantics of the consistency definitions also vary a lot. And now, what do you need, or what are the different options for you to preserve the consistency into your replicated system? Now, as you can see in this picture, what it means is that we are talking about replicated or geo-replicated systems where there are multiple replicas residing in multiple servers, and the servers are actually placed across different data centers which may be situated across the globe. So there is a considerable latency between or communication delay between the different servers, as you can see. And this latency actually varies according to the location or relative positioning of the servers. Now the latency or throughput achievable in those kind of systems, in that case, depend on both the consistency model applied as well as the configuration of servers. That how are the different replicas distributed across the servers, and what are the communication delay between the different servers, as well as the whether it's a stronger consistency model or a weaker consistency model. So arguing about consistency is very much complicated in this case because the trade-off in latency, communication delay, server configuration, consistency model needs to be actually simultaneously argued upon by the system or the application developer who is actually maintaining the consistency. And there are so many different specification of consistency models there. You can see, for example, like monotonic write, you can see there is entry consistency, there is delta consistency, there is eventual consistency, causal consistency, and various variation of causal consistency is there. And so you can see that when you talk of consistency and you talk of consistency tuning, there is an inherent complexity there also, that in terms of the choice of consistency model, which consistency model do you actually need? The developer or the user, if if the developer or the user is has to choose the correct consistency model for his or her application, he or she may not be able to do that, because knowing about all these consistency models is practically impossible for somebody who is just writing a Java or Python code, and his or our expertise is not in NoSQL systems. So NoSQL systems today are actually becoming an expertise by themselves, because of the very reason that there are so many different formalisms, so many different models, and so many different kind of fallouts of each of these consistency models to be considered with respect to the system that is being designed. Now, one obvious choice that somebody can make is that why do we even want to go for strong consistency models? Because the strong consistency models means that there must be a strict coordination or synchronization among the replicas or the servers, right? So because you want to for example, in causal consistency, what you want to do is basically maintain the causality of reads and writes, that if a particular item is written by a is updated by a particular write operation, then irrespective of the number of servers that are there, and wherever the next read operation, whichever server the next read operation may happen at, the result of this write operation must propagate to that particular read operation. Otherwise, the causal ordering will not be achieved, right? So it requires some propagation or synchronization of data among the servers. And causal consistency is typically a stronger consistency model. So now if we want to synchronize or coordinate among the replicas of the servers always, that means we are losing out on throughput and latency, because more you have to wait for the replica updates to propagate to the different servers, the greater your latency and lesser your throughput becomes. So in that case, the obvious choice is that you work with weaker consistency variants. That is, you work with either session consistency or some other form of weaker causal consistency models. Now, the problem with that is that, okay, fine, you can apply weaker consistency models and get very good performance because there is less synchronization. But with weaker consistency, there is a strong chance of violation of different application level invariants or correctness properties. For example, if you have a banking application, and if that application has an invariant that the account balance of a particular user cannot be less than equal to 0. For that constraint to be satisfied, the the replicas or the servers must always be talking to each other to ensure that in no case, in no situation, this bank account balance goes less than equal to 0 because of some concurrent or misordered operations happening in the multiple replicas. Now, in relational databases, I mean, of course, in relational databases also you could apply weaker consistency, and that is through something called CRDT, which is another actually interesting area of research, which my earlier research lab, some people used to work on, and people from India actually are very active in. So CRDTs are actually conflict-free replicated data types, which basically are some kind of abstraction layer on top of a relational database, which allows you to apply weaker consistency models on a normalized database through some control mechanisms instructions. So without going into the details, basically, like consistency or like weaker form of consistency is not something which is new to NoSQL databases. It actually can be provided by relational databases also, but not like the CRDTs do. But nevertheless, for NoSQL storage systems actually, which apply weaker consistency, to preserve invariance in case of those kind of NoSQL systems, there has to be some kind of a coordination layer on top of the weakly consistent database. And those kind of coordination layer can be provided by something like a Zookeeper service or some other kind of locking mechanism provided by Chubby or any other open source locking mechanisms. Now, so we have been talking about geo-replicated databases and why uh, tuning of consistency is so very important in geo-replicated systems, databases, and why the trade-off between communication delay or latency and consistency is so important. Now let's look at the real case, real use case. So this is some data that I got from the Amazon Cloud, Amazon Web Services, which I frequently use for my computations and my students' computations. So it's a public cloud offering, of course, Amazon EC2, and they publish this data, actually latest data they publish in their website. So what this says is that this table, what it says is that they consider that for a fixed client, so for example, let's say that a client application is located in China. Their data center in China basically hosts a particular client application, right? Now, depending on that particular location of the client, there are different values of latency that can be achieved by talking to a server, AWS server. So if you want to ping a server in the US West data center, which is hosted in California from China, this application in China, you will see that the mean latency is over 2000 milliseconds. You can see that I have marked it in red circle, the second row in this table, which says that a client located in China, if it tries to access a server located in the US West data center in California, will experience mean delay of 2126 milliseconds, which is very, very large. Now, in contrast, if you see the 1, 2, 3, 4, sixth row, I have circled again. You can see if a client in China actually tries to access a server in the Asia Pacific region data center, a data center in the Asia Pacific region in Singapore, it actually experiences a very low mean latency of 117 milliseconds because it is physically proximal to the client in China. So you can see that depending on the position of the server or replica in a NoSQL system, the latency actually varies a lot. Now on the other hand, this variation in latency is dependent on, again, the consistency model being applied. So if there is a stronger consistency model to be achieved, in that case actually even when talking to the Asia Pacific data center, the latency will actually be higher, because even in that case, because it's a stronger consistency model, the replicas must talk to each other, and the data center in US West must talk to Singapore data center before the result of that operation can be returned. But whereas if there's a weaker consistency model being applied, like say session consistency, then you will get very low latencies, even in case of geo-replicated systems where the client is in China but the server or if the replica is in Europe, for example. And this is what you see actually in the next slide, that there is a trade-off in consistency and latency. That is, you can see in this graph that you can see actually in this figure the blue blue histogram and the blue bar and the red bar in this plot. They actually mean that the blue bar actually means that the latency observed with a strong consistency model. That is the consistency model all in case of Cassandra, if it is applied, in contrast with the consistency weak consistency model 1 in Cassandra, you can see that there is a distinct gap in latency, distinct difference in latency, because with very weak consistency model, there is no coordination or very little coordination required. So it basically returns the result of the nearest server, and it achieves very little, it experiences very low latency. Whereas on the other hand, if a strong consistency model like all is applied in Cassandra, that means that all the servers or all the replicas must converge before returning the result. So in that case, the latency is very high, because the system needs to talk to all the servers before returning the result. And as you can see, in terms of implementation and actually strong consistency, for strong consistency you need some kind of a consensus mechanism like the one provided by the Paxos protocol, a very popular protocol, consensus algorithm, you will see, which is used to provide stronger consistency by ensuring consensus among all the servers or replicas. And the negative side is that high latency is observed, and the positive side is that strong consistency is actually the natural semantics. That is, naturally when you talk about invariance and talk about application logic, then strong consistency actually is a default thing that can be achieved. Whereas if you talk about eventual consistency, which is a strong weakest consistency model, it is actually provided by, as I already told you in the Bayou paper of Doug Terry, and later on in the actual real systems like Amazon's Dynamo and its successors Cassandra and Riak from Basho. So Dynamo, I think, is a sustained system, and Cassandra is an open source system that you will study in the workshop later on. So this kind of systems provide low latency because there is very less or negligible communication among the servers, which leads to anomalies and desirable behaviors in terms of wrong results being returned, right? So while talking about consistency and consistency tuning, typically the problem that developers and users talk about is that which consistency level is required or matching to your use case. And the challenges that that developers and system administrators in this domain have to encounter is that the definition, I mean, manually tuning the consistency in a storage NoSQL system is really hard, and there is no, mathematically speaking, the trade-off between consistency and latency is not expressible, or there is no existing closed form formula to express this trade-off. And till now, whatever techniques that you have seen in tuning consistency has been a trial and error based method, or some kind of static analysis based method, which can be actually infeasible because they require prior knowledge of the system, or it can be a feedback based online learning mechanism where machine learning is applied to collect training data for the different latencies experienced with different kind of consistency models, and then using that to train a model and then subsequently use it to predict the different consistency levels required for different cases. And this is how the hierarchy of the jungle of consistency models look like. So from top down, you can see the strongest and the weakest consistency model. So it comes down from strict serializability to snapshot isolation to parallel snapshot isolation to non-monotonic snapshot isolation to the causal consistency to eventual consistency and so on and so forth. And there are many other consistency models also in between this. As you can see in between your strict consistency, strict serializability and snapshot isolation, there are we have mentioned three other consistency models like weight free queries, minimum sorry no like in the portion between non-monotonic snapshot isolation and transactional causal consistency, you can see that total order rights, partial order rights, those are actually basically saying that what are the different kind of trade-offs that this kind of models provide, and in between actually there can be other consistency models which are not mentioned. For example, in this region there is something called total store order which is not mentioned here, and in the earlier case there was also reusability which was not mentioned here due to space. So basically what the edges in this graph mentioned are the different aspects or different kind of uh, outcomes that implementation of each of these consistency models cause. Like implementing uh, like in between causal consistency and eventual consistency, you can have something called causal plus consistency. So, or there can be other kind of consistency model like session consistency and so on. Similarly, transactional causal consistency and causal consistency, between them, any kind of transactions can execute. So all the consistency models that are pertaining to constructions can be also be applicable in this region. So in the four corners, you can see the different trade-offs to adoption of different all of these different consistency models. In the top right hand side, you can see the ease of programmability, because the strongest consistency model basically requires nothing to be done from the users or developer side to maintain consistency, because it already provides the strongest consistency model. There is no chance of any anomaly or violation of invariance, so there is nothing for the application developer to program. On the top right hand side, you can see low parallelism, because the strongest consistency model talks about sequential or blocking kind of access. That is, all the replicas must talk to each other for every kind of operation before proceeding to the next operation. So it doesn't give you any leave you with any scope to apply to leverage heavy level of parallelism or parallel execution. There is a lot of synchronization required in that case. And on the bottom, you can see hard to program and high level of parallelism is there. Why is hard to program? Because in this case you are providing weaker consistency models, so there are more and more chances of anomalies and invariant violation. So in that case, programmatically you have to introduce a lot of checks and balances and constraint checking and locking to the development code or to the client application code to maintain to prevent this kind of invariant violations. And also high parallelism can be there, high level of parallelism, because these are working in asynchronous mode. So asynchronous manner, multiple replicas can be updated actually. So research wise in this area, you can see that there have been various things that have been tried in order to tune the consistency of a system. Right? If a system had been providing eventual consistency, how would you programmatically or tune that consistency model to a to a weaker form or stronger form. So as you can see in this top part of this slide, that in case of weak consistencies, if there are some missing dependencies because of failure of some clients, in that case, how will you, there are different ways in which researchers try to address this kind of anomalies. So one is that ignore and violate, let there be violation of consistency model, which is the default thing. And the second one is that avoid by using low synchronous replication, that synchronize the replicas but do that in a slow manner, such that your consistency model is a weaker form, but still due to some synchronization, uh, at least eventually there is no violation in the invariance. And the third thing is that make the use some kind of thread control or locking protocol in the application code or the middleware to make the system or the server wait for dependencies to arrive, and in that case the availability of the system is affected because we are making the request wait for some time to, so that the dependencies are all merged together. And the fourth point is that leverage client replication to recover missing dependencies. That is, uh, the the replicas may be instructed to uh, try to converge in an asynchronous manner, uh, uh, using different kind of merge protocols to recover the missing dependencies and bring the system to an uniform uh, view. So in terms of complexity of implementation, since these forms of consistency have to be implemented from the application or the middleware side, so these are the different challenges in doing so. So uh, first problem is the tracking of the causality, right? How will you track that which operation caused what? And there are different ways to do that. One is that you maintain some dependency relationship by sharing some piggyback messages across the servers. Another is the delivery mode, where you basically allow the messages to be delivered and then you compare uh, the incoming messages during the delivery time. And abstraction wise, to visualize this kind of implementations, graphical techniques are used, where basically you use some kind of dependency graph, it's a directed graph, to visualize the dependency among the replicas. And the second thing can be the using different kind of vectors to exchange the messages between the time, like timestamp and the version of the replica that is applied. So if you want to, so these are the different ways that consistency can be enforced from application side. As you can see, we already discussed this. So in terms of the middleware and the frameworks that are usually developed for tuning the consistency model of the systems, have to consider these aspects. One is the staleness. Staleness is basically an abstract matrix which says how old or how stale the value being observed by a system is. And staleness is usually measured in terms of difference in timestamp, roughly speaking, but the formula is actually a little bit complicated. But there are some metrics called delta and gamma metrics, which you can see if you browse the literature for consistency tuning. And as we can see in this bottom figures, that with different kind of consistency levels being applied, the Gamma score also varies uh, predictably. So with stronger consistency model, of course the gamma score is very low, but with weaker consistency models, the gamma score becomes higher and higher. So intuitively speaking, of course, the stainless is a measure of the consistency from the client side. That if the weaker consistency is applied, the stale results, more and more stale results will be observed, right? So in terms of some consistency project ideas that I mean truly in terms of application of consistency you can think of, that in any kind of big data computations where you are maintaining very large data sets across servers where failures can happen, then how do you develop different kind of application specific consistency satisfaction or consistency maintenance policies and systems? For example, landslide detection, remote healthcare, right? Those actually are some sources of uh, large data, and what we have to find out is how we can maintain consistency in those cases. Similarly, for mobile computing, since the devices are actually mobile in nature, then your consistency again becomes a little bit difficult to argue about. So I could just go on, but at this point, I think I should actually stop and let the audience actually ask some questions, because it is going to get it's getting anyway much theoretical, and I didn't have any like applications to show you at this point. So maybe if you have any questions at this point, you can just ask. Anybody, any questions? Or I will just go on with the next set of slides that I have, if you like. Okay, then let me open the next set of slides. Just hold on. One second.
So any participants having any questions, please ask.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I am opening the slides. Hmm.
So Rajit sir, please continue, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay. Fine. So let me start the next slide. How do we do that? Okay. Okay. So I will try to go through some further examples of consistency actually. Uh, so hope my slides are visible actually. Slides are visible, right? Anybody?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So when we talk about consistency, okay, now we are talking about the theory of consistency. So the formally the definitions of different consistency models were actually initially, if you trace back to the origin of consistency models, the most I mean informal and descriptive models, the model definition could be found in this DISC 2000 paper by Schockler, which actually defined the consistency model in terms of some partial order definitions with respect to some equivalent serialization of the existing operations. And the next one was some paper by Atul Addia, who basically proposed a graphical way of representing the consistent isolation levels actually in terms of directed acyclic graphs, and later on those same graphs could also be used to uh, specify the consistency models. So an example of a consistency model and its definition. So snapshot isolation basically says that so it's a transactional model. So imagine that there are multiple transactions, and there is one transaction which is executing, and there are regular snapshots of the transaction which are taken. So snapshots are basically views or states of the database which are saved actually, and it assumes that a transaction T, it reads from a consistent snapshot, okay, and which allows it to reflect writes from transactions that were committed before T began. Okay. So in that case, what happens is that it's always said that if you are if you are reading from a consistent snapshot, then whatever operations you are performed are consistent anyway. So the commit order is actually given in terms of some kind of uh, logical ordering, which is called a conflict ordering, which you can see later from the graph, that there is a directed acyclic graph defined like this, where the transaction T1 and T2 are given by actually a set of transactions which read and write some objects like x1, x2, and the transactions and the snapshots of the transactions maintain certain history of the updates being performed on the operations. The histories are basically nothing but the values of the different objects or items that happened, that were resultant from the writes and reads happening before that particular snapshot. So the system maintains a sequence of histories through the snapshots, and the transactions are executed, and after each transaction a sequence of snapshots are taken, and this kind of directed acyclic graph is used to define the uh, isolation or the consistency level. For example, here we define a lost update anomaly that is disallowed by snapshot isolation. That is, snapshot isolation basically disallows a lot of anomalies. One of them is lost update. That is, once the update has happened on a snapshot, that update cannot be lost by any subsequent reads which read from the same snapshot. So this directed acyclic graph, what it says is that from T1 to T2 there is a read-write dependency, that if T1 contains a read and T2 contains a write, then T2's read is write is dependent on T1's read, and so on and so forth. So those kind of directed acyclic graphs were actually used to define the kind of restrictions imposed by the consistency models. But later on, what happened is that this kind of formalisms become very difficult to encode. So ultimately, remember what people have to do or researchers had to do is that develop automated tools to to verify the consistency models and specify the consistency models. And any kind of graphical representation is always a little bit difficult to encode and has some inherent overhead in implementation as well. So, and also they required some kind of prior knowledge of the terminology and representation of the graphs. So instead of doing that, uh, what was done is that some kind of partial ordering relationship was defined. But ultimately what this graph seems to say is that what is the dependency between a particular write and read or read and read operation. So that basically says that specifies the order in which these reads and writes must be applied to the database. And this ordering can be specified using simple partial order or linear temporal logic, which is basically a derivation of the partial order, which says that what is the temporal order or the chronological order in which operations can be applied and the results can be visible. So once we could define the consistency model using this kind of partial order or linear temporal logic, then actually this kind of automated tools could be very easily used, because the tools like satisfiability solvers or TLA, those actually could easily specify something like a LTL expression as a constraint and then verify that constraint based on the execution trace or the behavioral simulation of that particular application. So typically this was a system model that we talk about, that there are multiple client applications which are concurrently trying to perform some transactions consisting of some sequence of operations, and we are collecting some session traces of this from these applications, and there is a distributed database in the back end which applies these operations and according to a certain global session trace. So the definitions of consistency that that have been there from a long time, and we have also done that, is that using something called serialization order, which is basically the equivalent sequence of operations, an equivalent order in which a given set of operations can be rearranged to form a valid serial order. And the serial order is said to be a serialization, or serial order is said to be legal or valid if every read operation in that particular rearrangement returns the latest write operation in that particular arrangement. So now the definitions of consistency models became something like in this format, preliminarily, where basically you could say that given certain order of operations in a session trace, what is the valid serial order for that operation to happen in. But not to go into these details. So basically what researchers do in this area is that they build automated verification tools based on out-of-box satisfiability solvers and model checkers, and encode the consistency models in form of certain expressions and validate these models using by running execution traces or session traces on that particular, against those constraints specified in the checker. and derive insights like what are the implications, implementation implications of each of these consistency models, and what are the different fallouts or trade-offs in these models with respect to this different use cases and different system conditions. Now, the CAP theorem was there, of course, and the CAP theorem initially what is stated uh, is that consistency. Remember the CAP theorem I briefly mentioned in the beginning of this lecture, that the CAP theorem basically relates to that particular triangle where there is consistency, which is C, and availability, which is A, and partition tolerance, which is P, and basically the system cannot satisfy these three parameters at once. So it has to compromise. It has to compromise by providing any two of these three parameters. Now, consistency in CAP theorem is a very vague definition, which basically says refers to the strongest form of consistency, which is the linearity consistency model. But with respect to NoSQL storage systems, that definition of CAP theorem doesn't hold, because we are talking about not just linearity but an array of different possible consistency models, like monotonic write, like strict serializability, like processor consistency, and so on. So basically it says that, so the CAP theorem has to be extended, and that's what was done to say that the strongest consistency model, like causal consistency, strict serializability, and reusability, cannot be satisfied in presence of partition tolerance. Whereas all the weaker form of consistency models like session consistency can be satisfied by such kind of systems where partition is not tolerated. So, yeah, so I have nothing else to add here actually. If there is any questions, you can just ask, or I can clarify anything, any doubts that you have. Anybody has any questions?
I request the audience, if they have any questions, they can put up either in chat box or they can.
Some things I would like to say which I couldn't put in the slide, because this is a kind of an interesting topic, but I have not really given any lecture like this to a wider audience. But there are some things I would like to say. For example, when you are studying Cassandra in the coming lectures, or MongoDB, you will see that this kind of systems actually provide you some configuration parameters like consistency level in Cassandra. Consistency level is like consistency underscore level. It's a configuration parameter in Cassandra. It's actually there's a little bit of misunderstanding in the research community or the application community, which thinks that the consistency level parameter in Cassandra is actually the consistency models, but it's not that. Nevertheless, this parameter in Cassandra is very important, which basically says that, which basically allows you to control the number of replicas that must converge to a particular request. For example, you can specify the consistency level parameter in your Cassandra.yaml parameter file. When you download Cassandra, you will see in the configuration file, it's called Cassandra.yaml. There is a property called consistency level, which is probably actually commented down. You have to uncomment it and then specify the consistency level. You can put any of the admissible consistency level parameter values, like all, 1, 2, any one. For example, all means that all the replicas must converge before the request is returned. Two means that only two replicas need to converge before the request is returned. Any means basically the eventual consistency consistency setting, which says that as long as the coordinator node, the node which is taking care of the coordination replies, the request is successful. Similarly, in Mongo you will find some other way of tuning the consistency indirectly. For example, if I remember correctly, there is something called a write set and read set in Mongo. Read set and write set are actually the set of replicas that need to converge for a read operation and a write operation. Similarly, for React, which is actually an open source database, NoSQL database from Basho, it actually uses SOAP protocol and REST API to run the queries. And in the REST API command, you can actually request, you can specify the number of replicas that need to convert. So this consistency level parameter, this write set, read set, all are ways of indirectly tuning the consistency model. But these consistency levels have no direct connection to the actual consistency models like read or write, monotonic write, or causal consistency. So that is the other thing that I wanted to say here. I am done here. Oh, how data consistency is maintained in distributed database and big data. I think this is a very generic question somebody has asked. How data consistency is maintained. So yeah, okay. So in distributed databases, there are two ways that data consistency is maintained. One is that I told you these configuration parameters like consistency level and read set and write set. You can actually configure these parameters to indirectly tune what kind of consistency that you want to get, stronger or weaker. Or there is, from application side, you can actually, the application developer actually has to programmatically control the consistency level by controlling the order in which the application operations are executed. Or by default, some databases actually provide some variations of consistency model, which actually, like for example, there is something called a Cosmos DB, I think, built by Microsoft, I think. So yeah, no other questions I see. Okay, then I can sign out.
Thank you, Dr. Subhajit sir.
Thank you so much. I will send the PDF of my slides sometime soon. All right.
Yes, sir, sure.
Bye.
There's a echo from some side. So I extend gratitude on behalf of the whole VIT fraternity and the audience to the wonderful session and overview of this upcoming research area that we discussed. In brief summary, I would like to narrate the session summary of the whole day, first day of this particular FDP. Dr. Naresh Nagwani sir, in the forenoon session, he introduced on NoSQL databases, and he dealt with comparisons between the conventional SQL and NoSQL databases. He talked on scalability issues, advantages, types, key value databases, use cases, column-based databases, graph databases. He also did some overview on CAP theorem that you revisited, sir. And he talked about applications and so on. And in this particular session, we understood NoSQL databases relation in cloud environment, large-scale distributed systems. Sir, you talked about linearizability of the operations. You talked about the consistency issues, and you dealt these issues in greater detail for every circumstances. You talked about SLA awareness, performance optimization issues, why automated performance optimization is required. in consistency models. You talked about semantics in geo-replicated systems and applications and so on. That was a wonderful session, sir. And again, thank you once again, sir, for being with us. Over to Patrai, sir.
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks, Subhajit sir, for showing us a very detailed description related to the information that you have given. Definitely, the audience will be benefited. Thank you so much, sir, for spending
Okay.
your valuable time with us. Thank you,
Sure.
sir.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. So, thank you all for attending session number 2 today. Tomorrow we will meet at 10:30 a.m. Session number 3 topic will be document databases and introduction to MongoDB. The speaker will be Mr. Sudeep Bhattacharya, Associate Professor, BITT. So thank you all for attending today's session. Thank you very much. We are signing off for now. Thank you.